Goldman Sachs has just raised their gold target to $2,900 an ounce by early 2025. Call the proud Americans of the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group has the No Fee for Life IRA, where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold and silver on qualifying rollovers. Call 888-869-9656 for a free investor guide today. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold IRA dealer 7 years in a row. Call 888-869-9656. Please like, share, and subscribe, and comment. Good evening. I'm still reporting on UFOs. I know not many reporters are going to do reports on this topic this evening because there's so much raw meat available over the latest Trump picks. So that's fine with me, except for one question. What about General Flynn? Oh, and what about Matt Whitaker, former acting Attorney General? More than any other, with one small exception, these are two guys who need roles in the new Trump administration. One more thing. Although I have not been asked, I would move back to D.C. to accept only one job, Secretary of the Treasury. I would immediately begin the gradual implementation of a return to a sovereign money system, which would feature a gradual elimination of the Federal Reserve note to be replaced on a one-for-one basis with our original debt-free money system, the United States note. Between now and January 20th, 2025, this channel will feature a barrage of monetary reform reports that have originally appeared on this channel. The hope is that it will stimulate someone in the Trump administration to open the door to at least a trial run with the old sovereign money system, where a certain percentage of Federal Reserve notes would be replaced by United States notes in the hopes of an expected reduction in the national debt. Now, in Congress today, something that almost went completely without notice, a man who studied UFO sightings in the U.S. government for many years was called into Congress to give hitherto unheard testimony that UFOs do exist and the government has possession of equipment and materials from a crashed UFO. I've been a believer in UFOs since I was in my teens. It just made sense to me that somewhere among the billions of stars out there is a planet that has sentient life, even more advanced than our own. Then, when I was in my 30s, my first father-in-law was the CIA's representative on Project Blue Book, the first publicly known UFO investigation mounted by the federal government. When there was a reported sighting, my father-in-law would rush to Dulles Airport and be flown by the fastest aircraft available to the sighting location and gather as much information as possible for the agency. He saw quite a few credible instances of UFOs. However, one stood out. This one occurred in the early 1970s. A bogey was seen racing in from the south over Los Angeles towards Edwards Air Force Base. It was first spotted at 250,000 feet, but it passed over Edwards and went just to the north of it into the restricted airspace of the China Lake Naval Weapons Research Site there. The UFO spent several minutes cruising through this nation's most advanced theodolite box, an installation covered by the most advanced radar and optical tracking gear, originally installed to precisely track the trajectory of naval gunfire projectiles. The UFO came in at Mach 20 plus, entered the box, then did 100 G turns which no human could survive. It stayed in the box for several minutes, and excellent radar and camera footage was obtained of the incident. Then it took off in a direction from whence it came. It was clearly a display of superiority without any attack or contact with government officials. This story has never surfaced in the public except from this report. Now,
earlier today on Capitol Hill, the former head of UFO investigations at the Pentagon. This is a Pentagon, very, very important guy at the Pentagon, Luis Elizondo, a man entrusted by our government with protecting some of our nation's most sensitive top secret programs, testified under oath in front of Congress. Elizondo says our government is secretly in possession of UFOs that were not made by any government on this planet. And no government on the planet seems to know exactly where they are from. Elizondo also stated that we are not alone in the cosmos. Take a listen.
Let me be clear. UAP are real. Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. Furthermore, the U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries. I believe we are in the midst of a multi-decade secretive arms race, one funded by misallocated taxpayer dollars and hidden from our elected representatives and oversight bodies. Excessive secrecy has led to grave misdeeds against loyal civil servants, military personnel, and the public, all to hide the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos.
Luis Elizondo is the author of Imminent, Inside the Pentagon's Hunt for UFOs, and he joins us now from Capitol Hill. And Luis, thanks so much for coming on. I want to start with just the biggest headline from this hearing. You say the government, our government, is in possession of technology that was not created by, as far as we can tell, any government in the world. What more can you tell us about what you have seen working at the Pentagon?
Sure. Well, there was a time actually in my career I signed documentation saying I would never discuss this topic. And after an exhaustive review process of about over a year long, the Pentagon finally allowed me to talk a little bit about it, which I put in my book. And the fact is that, yes, the U.S. government has had a long-running program in this topic, despite the stigma and taboo and the public statements that, we've said before our government's not interested in this topic. We've spent millions and millions and potentially billions of dollars into the research and development into UAP technologies, and we've done so without the proper oversight of Congress. And that's why we had this, one of these, the historical, I think, in my opinion anyways, one of the historical hearings of this year.
As far as what, I don't know what all you can reveal, but what you've seen, you believe that, and I assume that you have seen this yourself, that there is a technology that did not come from our government, hasn't come from any government in the world?
Yes, but more importantly than that is the fact that why aren't members of Congress able to see what myself and my colleagues have been able to see through reports, video, and photography and whatnot, by the way, through some of our most sophisticated intelligence collection platforms. This isn't like grandma seeing some lights in the backyard. These are trained military pilots that are in some cases coming so close to these UAP, it's splitting the formation right down the middle.
Do you say that we are in possession of this technology, or these are things that our military men and women have seen?
So both, but let me be very clear what I'm allowed to say. That I am aware of exotic material that is in the possession of the U.S. government, that we do not understand its origin, we don't understand how it's used, and we do not have the ability today to replicate that. That is what I'm allowed to say. Now, as far as what pilots are seeing, that's a little bit different. They're seeing these UAP up close and personal. We're recording them on hyperspectral capabilities. We're recording them on gun camera footage, FLIR footage, forward-looking infrared. It's at this point probably the worst kept secret in the country.
And there's a small group that you testified today that's within our government that is aware of this information, and they've created, I guess, a culture of intimidation and suppression that you've been victim to?
That's right, and not just myself. Colleagues of mine, close colleagues, people like David Grush, who have come out and decided to tell the truth under oath, and then there was retaliatory, in effect, behaviors by the government to keep them quiet, or worse, to try to discredit their testimony and their involvement in the government UAP program.
And you testified today that your life had been threatened as well, in this by this faction of people. I assume you've seen what they have seen. Have you all been privy to the same information? Is there more that you haven't seen?
Well, so when I was in the program, roughly from 2009-ish to about 2017, I was looking really more at the nuts and bolts aspect of UAP. Basically, how do they operate, what are the physics behind them, and what is the difference between those capabilities and our own capabilities. So that was primarily our focus. As far as the historical records, I was more probably, I think it's fair to say, interested in the current observations, because when you're briefing a general or you're briefing a Secretary of Defense, they're not really interested in what happened 50 years ago. Yeah. They're interested in what happened last week. So our focus in ATIP was really more of the here and now.
And you said you believe today that the technology that we have seen or that we were in possession of could either have been made potentially in some kind of military private sector or potentially out of this world, right?
Correct. I mean, this is why it's important we have congressional involvement, because Congress needs to know. They have an oversight responsibility. And if one section of the government is not being responsive to another section of the government, then especially if they have a need to know, that's problematic, because then you don't have accountability, you don't have oversight, you don't have transparency, and that's where things go wrong.
Well, hopefully with this new government coming in, a lot more transparency will be, coming, and I think it will be. I don't see any reason why there wouldn't be. So, yeah,
I'm very optimistic.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'm very optimistic.
And you say that there is no question we are not alone in the cosmos. Luis Elizondo, thank you so much. We appreciate it, sir.
I'm still reporting from just outside the citadel of world freedom. Good day.